So today we'll be here speaking to you about our new product, Triblast. Triblast is a protein shake type workout, pre-workout drink that you can take. We're looking at, this is sort of your normal bottle that you take to the gym with you, however we've changed it up. The lid is going to be removable and it's also going to have 4 compartments in it. The 4 compartments are going to contain shake made up of protein, carbohydrates, glucose, bicarbonate and magnesium. We're also going to have a section then for fruit that you can add to the drink to add flavour, honey to also add some more flavour to it, and some glucose in there. And there's also going to be a section for creatine. So today we're going to hand over to some more people to speak about the actual components of the drink.
So firstly is creatine phosphate. The reduction of creatine phosphate during fatigue is found within the muscles. Creatine phosphate is produced with the liver and then goes to the skeletal muscles where it is stored. Creatine phosphate is used to form ATP and from ADP. It is also important for intense exercise for up to 10 seconds. An example in sport where this system is important for would be races such as the 100 metres where maximum power cannot be maintained. Our product contains creatine monohydrate, therefore when energy levels are low this will enable the process of ATP to be recreated faster, allowing for a powerful burst of energy to last longer for the athlete during intense workouts and competitions. This means that athletes can work harder for a longer period of time, meaning that performance levels will increase due to higher energy levels, enabling them to push themselves harder for longer and on a consistent basis, which will lead to increased muscle growth. Secondly is muscle and liver glycogen. Muscle and liver glycogen can occur even though there is enough oxygen and ATP through metabolic pathways. Glycogen is an available source of energy under both aerobic and anaerobic conditions. When glycogen stores are depleted, muscles stop contracting because the body is unable to use fat as a sole source of fuel. Fatty acids from the fat stores cannot be fully oxidized to release all their energy if there is insufficient breakdown of carbohydrates at the same time. Our product contains whey protein powder. This is good because during training for athletes, by taking whey protein, this increases liver and muscle glycogen stores. Therefore, with increased muscle glycogen, this increases the rate at which ATP is resynthesized, meaning that athletes are supplied with powerful bursts of energy, which can be used to work at increased intensity levels during exercise. This is good because if an athlete is able to work to their full potential during every workout on a consistent basis, then this will lead to increased muscle growth and therefore will increase overall performance.
I'm going to talk to you there about the blood lactate level and how the body and how our drink will combat it. There is a build-up of hydrogen ions whilst exercising. This can be turned into lactic acid by the body. We're going to be adding bicarbonate, which will turn this into CO2 and water, which you can breathe out and you get rid of the water via sweat. Also, we have added magnesium. This helps speed up recovery and to help people with, whilst they're exercising like cycling or running, the build-up of lactic acid won't take as much of a toll and burning on their muscle.
I'm going to speak about the calcium section in the drink that helps neuromuscular fatigue. So reduced calcium ion release is part of the sliding filament theory. The sliding filament theory explains the mechanism of muscle contraction based on muscle proteins that slide past each other to generate the movement. Calcium ions are released to allow actin and myosin to attach to each other. If the calcium stores are reduced, actin and myosin will no longer be able to attach as often and will prevent continued muscular contractions. The milk in the bottom half of our drink is high in calcium, and this will help prevent neuromuscular fatigue. Preventing neuromuscular fatigue means that the athlete can train at a high level for a long period of time and neuromuscular fatigue won't kick in.
I'll now talk about excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, which is also referred to as EPOC. The need for additional oxygen to replace ATP and remove lactic acid is known as oxygen debt or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. The two major components of EPOC are fast components and slow components. Fast components, also known as lactic acid, oxygen debt is the amount of oxygen that is required to synthesize and restore muscle phosphagen stores such as ATP and creatine phosphate. Slow components, also known as lactic acid, oxygen debt is the amount of oxygen that is required to remove lactic acid from the muscle cells and blood. Processes within the body, such as heavy breathing, do not return to normal straight away after exercise, although recovery for light exercise, such as golf and slow walking, occurs quickly, usually without realization of this even happening. However, after doing steady state exercise for a long period of time, it takes much longer to recover and return back to its normal state. This is because straight after exercise, in the recovery period, oxygen is used for the production of ATP to replace the ATP used in the workout. Also, it is used to resynthesize muscle glycogen from lactate. Restore oxygen levels in the venous blood, skeletal blood, and myoglobin. Work with protein for repairing muscle tissues after they have been broken down in the workout. And restore body temperature. This means that once exercise is ended, these responses must return back to the resting level due to demand for oxygen now being decreased and the muscles not needing to work hard anymore. Therefore, it's good for athletes because it replaces energy so that they are able to keep going during heavy, steady exercise sessions. Our product includes creatine and glucose. This is good because creatine helps replenish ATP, therefore you always have boosted ATP systems that allow you to work for longer powerful bursts. Glucose is an important energy source that is needed by all the cells and organs of our bodies, therefore during intense or steady state long periods of exercise, this ingredient will boost your energy levels, allowing you to keep working throughout the same session. For example, if you're performing continuous training for a prolonged period of time, these ingredients contribute to sustaining high energy levels throughout the session, enabling that you perform to your best.
Now I'm going to talk about the recovery session, and firstly being the replenishment of the myoglobin stores. With myoglobin, it is an oxygen stored protein which is found within the muscle. Similar to hemoglobin, it combines with oxygen while supplying plenty. From combining with oxygen, it will be stored only until the demand of oxygen increases until it will be used up. So during exercise, the oxygen from the myoglobin will be quickly used up. Therefore, once this is used up, additional oxygen is required for exercise, so the oxygen is borrowed from the myoglobin stores. Our product will contain additional myoglobin, which can be found within protein substances. Therefore, our products will contain a protein powder, so there will be an additional amount of myoglobin during exercise. From this point, our product will help athletes because it will give you the additional myoglobin needed during exercise. This is to supply the working muscles with oxygen to then be converted into energy. Therefore, optimal performance can be increased for a longer period of time due to the increase in oxygen levels. Therefore, this enhances the athlete's sports performance. Now, lastly, I'm going to talk about the replenishment of glycogen during the recovery phase. Glycogen is stored within the muscles and is the main fuel source for athletes. Following a strenuous training session or a competitive event, aerobic exercise is related to the initial glycogen stores, and so once glycogen stores have been depleted, the athlete will feel exhausted and fatigued, and so a consequence of leading to a poor performance. Our product will help athletes because our shake contains carbohydrate powder. Therefore, from a high intake of carbohydrates, it can help increase the levels of energy needed for sports performance. This will enhance performance because it is a fast releasing energy which can be used for anaerobic sporting situations such as the 100-meter sprint, as it will enable fast releasing energy to the active muscles in order to produce fast muscular contractions. Thank you.